Colleagues, those who have got to know of me, indeed, I like to make as much practical implication or implicable talk and examples as far as I can. So bear with me, those who are expecting a high level epistemological and ontological conversation with the paradigms and all that are lifted in my talk. The talk is there. I just choose not to use it, not because of the degrading, but because of I want it to be in our practical language and practical usage of examples as far as possible, so that you can see how easy, what I regard, how easy and interesting research is, so that you can get and enjoy this journey, because this journey can be quite daunting, can be quite demanding, and at times a bit lonely. And if you are not enjoying what you are doing, you might have challenges, you and your supervisor or your supervisors. So today we'll be looking into the conceptualization of an understanding of the components of the proposal. As Mr. Majid indicated, my name is Tabane, and I'm at the College of Education, and today I'm in the School of Graduate. Your start, those of you already know, your start is in the topic of your research. Where is your research based? And this research is based in a particular topic in the field that you are interested in. Now, topic is as broad as it can be. This morning, I sent out newspaper clippings to my M&D group, and I said to them, those of you who can take something from them, take something from them, because you need to read every day to abreast yourself on issues related to your topic. Because from those issues, especially those who are still in the proposal level, from that topic, you are going to refine it to come to your title. So topic is broad, title is refined. Topic can be anything under the sun about what you're interested in, that phenomena. It can be COVID-19, but what about COVID-19? Is it about the vaccination? Is it about the levels? Is it about who was infected first or infected first and affected, I guess, as well? So what about COVID-19? So that's a topic. But the moment you go deeper into that COVID-19, into that HIV and AIDS, into that ADHD, into that agricultural aspects of whatever, you are now refining it into a particular title. Now, what is your title? So this is where you and your supervisor will be sitting. And when your supervisor tells you are not making sense, believe me, you are not making sense. Because of your supervisor is looking at this in one eye, through this one needle eye. What is the focus? If you come you present something to your supervisor, it had too many variables or constructs, they will tell you are broad, you are scattered, you are not focused. So what are they asking for? What is your title? So your title around COVID topic, it can be the distribution of vaccines in the rural areas. Now that's a title. You are not interested in the distribution of vaccines in an urban area. You are interested in it in the rural area. So you are now becoming focused. So that is the difference between a topic and a title. Then it is through this literature that you refine your topic, that you refine your title. Hence, I said this morning I was sending out newspaper clippings to my M&D group, and so look at this. Maybe you'll find something that has to do with your title or your interest in your study. Those are just joined UNISA in your topic and all that and all that and all that. Because of colleagues, you have to read every day. You have to read every day if you want to complete your study, not to complete it quickly. It's not about completing it quickly. It's not about completing it within a record time, as people like to put in their CVs that it's completed in the record time. It's about the refining of your arguments of in that title, because you are constantly aware of what is happening in your title and around your title and about your title. So literature is there to help you to refine that. So in other words, when your supervisor sends you back and say, go and refine your title, they don't mean sit in your study, sit in your bed, sit in watching television in your dining room table and say, how do I refine this? How do I rephrase this? And then you come up with words and all that you try to refine. It also means go and read, because through literature you will justify what your problem is. So read every day, read about your topic, read so that you can refine your title. And once you have refined your title, read about your title so that you can beef it up. We have only 2 hours. Colleagues, at the end of the day, your thesis and your dissertation is a bunch of paragraphs, right? And we know that a paragraph is a noun and it depicts a main or only element of subjects. So it's about the main, or what are the elements of that particular noun, of that particular paragraph. So you have lots of paragraphs that should indicate main aim or main elements of that particular paragraph. So a paragraph can be 1 line, paragraph can be a few lines or 4 lines, as my son shows me with her fingers, or 5, but it should have a main character that carries it. It can refer to persons, places, things, states, qualities, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when we read your paragraph, we should be able to say, in this paragraph, this is your focus. In this next paragraph, this is your focus. So because of, if your paragraph does not make sense, your whole dissertation and thesis will not make sense. I was saying in this instance that your thesis and dissertation, it's lots and lots of paragraphs. It's a bunch of paragraphs actually that you, at the end of the day, you submit for us to mark. So it's very important for this paragraph to make sense. In a paragraph, we know that it's a noun, but the main important thing about the paragraph is that it has a main or elements of a subject. So a bunch of lines of words, but they must have a main focus. Okay, it can be a line, can be 5, 6 lines, 7 lines, but be careful of a paragraph that goes over 6 to 7 lines, and then you find a paragraph of 10 lines. There's a problem there. So try to make this as concise as possible, because at the end of the day, these paragraphs are the ones that should make sense and are telling us what your story is about. So it can refer to persons, places, things, states, or qualities. So what is the main idea, or what is the main focus of this paragraph that you are writing? That's what you should start to think of, right? This is a paragraph that I borrowed from a colleague who asked me to read her work. I am not a subject specialist. No, I'm not even in this field. And when I was reading it, I was like, oh, very interesting. Why? Because of the way she wrote the paragraph. Oh, Professor Mbata will be the one who understands what they're talking about. Yemina, I don't. But you can read this and try to make sense of what this person is talking about, because here are the elements and tells you what the focus is at the end of the day. So a paragraph should be able to tell even the person who's not a subject specialist, what is this about, so that you can understand what this person is trying to say. So if you have a paragraph that speaks to red color, and somewhere within the second or the third line, there's about pink, and simply because of its pink, and you think because of you diluted red, then you added something that's about maroon, there's a problem. Because of here, we wanted to know what you mean by this red that you're talking to. So paragraph must have a main focus. It can have one or two ideas, but it should be able to inform clearly what this is about. So your thesis at the end of the day, your dissertation at the end of the day, is about the paragraphs. So you lose the plot of writing proper paragraphs, you are gone. Let's go now into the components. I was saying here in terms of the components, some supervisors, they would want you to join introduction and background together. So you'll see you'll have written the introduction and background. So that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I prefer to separate the two, introduction and the research background. All right. However, I would really like to implore you at this instance, and this is a disclaimer for all the trainings that you're going to receive through School of Graduate. Please, we are different specialists. We are different professors and doctors, consultants with interest in how certain things are done. We are not replacing your supervisors. We are not replacing your supervisors. Communicate what we say, what your supervisors say, and make sense. Your supervisor at the end of the day is a key person here. The fact that I'm on Teams and I'm being listened to in Ethiopia does not make me famous and does not make what I say final. It doesn't. Your supervisor's word is final with your consultation and your consultation with your supervisor, and what the supervisor says goes. Remember that. Introduction. In this introduction section, we seek to tell the reader about this report we are writing, about what we are writing about, right? We are attempting to justify the rationale behind our work. There are no word strict limit, unlike in an abstract, because we know abstract is about 200 words. But please make it concise. You cannot, colleagues, have an introduction section in your proposal that is of 4 pages. It does not work. Remember that at the end of the day, your proposal should be at least about 15 pages. Well, in certain aspects, it depends as well in the college, because of in the sciences it might be more, but you stick to what the college says and what the supervisor and you agree on, but it should never be 80 pages, 100 pages. Please, this is a proposal. What are you proposing? And if you can't propose, I mean, think about it. It's a proposal. When you propose a marriage, it's a simple question, isn't it? Will you marry me? It's simple. And then it's a proposal that has a bearing for the rest of your life. So the same goes with this proposal. It's a proposal that's a bearing for the rest of your study. So make it as short as possible so that we understand what are you proposing. So please keep it short. Define what your problem is in your topic, in your introduction, and keep it coherent, well organized, like I indicated with the example of a paragraph with red, pink, and maroon. And perhaps others will even throw in purple. It's confusing. Background. Here you are setting the scene of what you're going to tell us about. You're telling us what created this, what is the context. You're highlighting how it fits in with previous researches. What are the known facts? It's a background. What are the known facts about this problem? Introduction. You told us what you're going to talk about, what your study is going to be about. What interests you about this? But now in your background, in this section, you are telling us where the problem is as far as the status quo remains. As far as you know, how does it tie in with other researchers? That's why literature is very important. It allows you to give us historical narrative. Give the reasons why this research or the researcher wants to undertake this study, why this research is important. You are referring, you are citing. It can form part of the introduction as I indicated. And as well, no word strict limit. However, please make it a page or a page and a half. If you can keep it into a page, that's fine. So begin the section with clear descriptions. Again, be specific, be coherent, and refer to relevant literatures, acts, and policies. Remember, you are trying to explain here or highlight the factors that led to your problem. Maybe this is how you should look into the background. When you talk to the background, you must ask yourself, what are the things that led to this problem? Because once you know what are factors that led to this problem, you will be able to read proper literature so that you can have the background. Because your problem starts somewhere, it has a background. Think like that person when you wanted to, or you've done something, or you wanted to explain something, and this person says to you, you know, I'm not getting you well. Actually, where are you coming from? Explain yourself. Where is this coming from? Background. So in your literature section, you will do other sections separate. This one is just, it encompasses all the components. But in your literature review, when you have the next literature review, what they will cover things like the phenomena of your study, the proponents of your theories, and all that you have to do in your study. So those will be covered in that workshop when you're doing literature review. You'll be talked about what the difference between theoretical framework and theoretical conceptualization. Again, from literature, theories that shapes your argument or your lens to understand the problem. It can be policies as well. It can be a theory, Brenner, Vygotsky. It can be the Ubuntu. It can be Bamsemang. It can be African philosophies in terms of what do they call it? Tulamelo theories of the village or the group being able to have more power when they are together, the Tulamelo theory. So it's all those theories, be it Western or African or South African. Sometimes people go to as far as refining some certain proverbs to explain a particular lens, and that's beautiful. So you can do that in this section, but you will have to do lots of reading in that. So please do not throw away our African philosophers and philosophies of doing things like Omemulo. That's a theory because it has its own ways of doing things and the reasons why it is done. You know, the issues around our Koma, our mountain school. There's a way of doing things and the reasons of doing that. Those are our African philosophies that we are not to throw away, and we need to bring this now in. But you will learn this more when you're doing your literature review and your theoretical conceptualization sections. Motivation of your study. Now, this section it speaks to what motivated you to do your study. We talked to introduction, we talked to background, now we're saying the motivation. Now, I'm not a supporter of the word motivation, psychologist as I am, but in this section, I don't go for motivation in terms of what motivates you, or the way we take the word motivation, because of motivation can be emotional inclined, right? And then we will lose the plot. So I prefer the word rationale or the rationale. What is the thinking that led you to this problem? Because with motivation, You can be motivated by promotion, that I want to do this study and get my PhD because I want promotion. That's not the motivation that we're looking for here. With motivation, you can be fueled by anger because something happened in your life and you want to correct it. And the way you come across as this angry individual and not giving us the reason of why it is going to be learned, because we're doing research, colleagues, to advance knowledge. We are doing research to advance knowledge. What are the lessons that you are going to bring to the fore to contribute to knowledge? And I'm also not the proponent of agreeing that much in terms of only the PhDs can contribute knowledge. It's just that the expectation of a PhD is that you should contribute knowledge. But I think masters, you can contribute knowledge. That's why some masters studies can be promoted to and converted to PhDs. Honors, they can also contribute to knowledge, right? So please, when you do your study, hence I said, when you read, when your supervisor says go and read and be more focused, please, when they say refine, they indeed mean go and find that spark in your title that's going to indeed teach us something. That's why I prefer the word rationale. And in this rationale, it's a matter of why are you doing it? Who is the target of this study? So in this instance, the target is who are you writing this study for? Because if you're doing this study to give knowledge in something, for what? For who? And there's also target in terms of who are going to be your participants. So, but why are you doing this study? So, like I said, I prefer the word rationale because it helps you to tell us about the reasoning. For instance, you might have been robbed, let's say, and then when you are robbed, you are angry that the police van saw the commotion, but they didn't stop and they passed and you were robbed. So you are angry that the police are not doing their jobs. The police don't know and they cannot analyze situation when they see them outside. And therefore you come to UNISA, you say, I want to do a study on how police are useless or how inefficient Namibian, South African, Ethiopian police are. Okay, so you're already concluding, right, how inefficient they are. And you're coming from this because of you're motivated by an activity that happened to you. And when you write, it comes out across as well that this person, I want to teach them this. They don't know how to analyze. You know, it's anger. Or this happened to someone close to you that you, and it comes out. That's why your supervisor will say, but wait a minute, come back. Why do you want to do this? And you're like, hey, this guy, I've been telling this guy why I want to do this for so long, and I've written 13 pages of why, and he's still asking me why. Because of the rationale is not there. What is the rationale of your study? We can see the motivation and we appreciate it. And we want to ride on that motivation so that you can read more and then finish your study. But what is the reason, the rationale? And the reason in this instance, it's simple. It's about training the police to be able to analyze situations when they see them happening, preempt certain situations. That's all. And then you might come up with strategies on how to preempt potential violent situations. You see, that's a contribution, not to teach them a lesson. It's not a contribution to teach them a lesson. To sue them, to expose them. No, that's not a rationale for the study and for undertaking your master's or your PhD. Because of my father died of COVID and the doctor was too slow to administer oxygen. and therefore I want to teach him or her a lesson. I want to teach that nurse a lesson. No, it's not the rationale for the study. You're losing the plot. The plot's about contributing to knowledge. Maybe come up with new steps of, in the hospital they have what they call triage, where they classify as people who come in emergency. Perhaps during the triage, COVID person, your uncle, your father, your husband, your wife was triaged as less critical. And then you come up with the studies that says, no, actually, because of these 1, 2, 3, 4 signs, these people should be triaged in the red category, not in the blue category. You see, that's contribution. Yes, you have lost someone because of that mishap of policy in terms of how to triage. But it's not about suing that doctor, that hospital, that nurse. I hope you understand what I'm saying in terms of rationale. I'm focusing a lot on this in this section because this is where we fight with our students. When we tell them you are not making sense. And colleagues, when a supervisor says it's nonsense, it's nonsense. It's not an insult. You are not making sense. What you have written doesn't make sense. So engage with the supervisor. Sir, ma'am, Prof, doctor, Miss, Mr. Why are you saying this is nonsense? Because I thought it was sense because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it's not sense because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Oh, okay. No, sir, you don't understand what I said. Well, what I'm saying is 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay. Actually, it was my understanding that did not make sense. Now I understand. I was the one who was talking nonsense. Okay, thank you for assisting me with that. And you continue. That's what studies is about. It's not about personalities. Oh, by the way, there is no supervisor and at UNISA who has it for you. There's no supervisor at UNISA. UNISA did not hire staff that wants to prove a point to a student. I can guarantee you that they go through rigorous for them to be at the level of professorate, doctors, and all. They go at, believe me. All right. So please, personal vendettas, no, it's not part of our IPMS or makeup. We are not on that. So keep that in mind. And please believe me, be it a woman supervisor, be it a man supervisor, be it a younger than you supervisor or older than you supervisor, the fact that the university has entrusted this person to you so that they can assist you, it means they are qualified. So let's deal with that from that. Respect each other because they do respect you. That's why they read your work. The only problem, it comes when they feel disrespected by you submitting work that shows that you did not take consideration their comments that they did. So be considerate. When your supervisor comment, it does not matter they commented, they didn't see your misspelling of something in page 1-48, they only see it in page 106. It means you must only correct that in 106. It means you must go through the entire thesis, proposal, dissertation to correct it. A comment in page whatever, it means a comment everywhere. I hope I'm clear on that. It does not matter where the comment is. It means everywhere. Keep that in mind. Then comes the section of your purpose of the study. You can ask me a question, but we talked about the reason, and I said it can be at least a page and a half. Now take that page and a half and turn it into the purpose statement of your study. And then people talk to the aim of the study. And I'm going to show you the difference between the aim and the purpose. A purpose links to that long 1.5 page of reasons where you were now given a chance to go to town and explain your reasoning. But now here, I'm asking you to put it in a paragraph. And it starts with a formula. The purpose of my study is to do what? Now, since now I'm working from home, I cannot tap my wife's telephone anymore because I see her, right? But if I'm a jealous husband and my wife is going to work, and then I have friends in the CIA and whatever, and I ask them to tap my wife's phone, why am I tapping it? What is the main aim at the end of the day? What is the intent? So that I can overhear conversations. So I tapped her phone to overhear conversations. So what is the purpose of your study? You are doing this study so that you can get to what? So the aim at the end of the day indicates the ultimate goal. And then we have a formula of writing your purpose statement. Make sure that it has a central issue or central phenomenon of study, what the study is going to focus on, who are the participants, your research site. And if you are able, you can include your research methodology there. So what does this study seek to investigate or to find out or to explore? So the purpose of this study is to do what? What is the purpose of your study, colleague? To do what? With the aim of doing what? It aims to what? To do what? To bring forth what? The experiences, to develop what? What is the ultimate aim of your study? No word strict limit. However, please try to make the purpose statement and your aim to be at least a paragraph. That's my suggestion. We have an example there. The purpose of this qualitative study is to explore the experiences of high school principals in terms of school management in rural settings. You can read Creswell, even the new recent Creswells, they will tell you about that formula. The purpose of this study is to do this, to on whom, where. What is the aim of my purpose statement? To bring to the fore contextual factors affecting rural principals' school management practices. The methodology section, this should cover your research paradigms, interpretivism, positivism, pragmatism, your research approaches. Other scholars, they call them methodology. Now, this is again where you will listen to your supervisor clearly, because of you are going to have my colleagues who are going to talk to research methodologists that this is a methodology, it's not an approach. Okay, some are, where I call them methods, they call them approaches. So it's all about the syntax, semantics rather, yeah, the semantics of that particular word. So please work closely with your supervisor. And this is because we are different professors, doctors, experts, scholars, consultants from different thinking caps as well. All right, and even if you read the research books, you will see one book calls it this, the other book calls it that. That's fine. The main important thing is that the structure. So listen to your supervisors, please. Your research design, you'll cover new methodology as well. Your research techniques, your research questions, and your sub questions as well. In your paradigm, just to whisk quickly, this is where you will cover whether it is interpretivist, constructivist. There are lots of lenses, paradigm a lens. There are lots of spaces of seeing things. And please don't write about a paradigm and then you do not know who are the proponents of that paradigm. Because of you need to know, when you know who are the proponents, who are the supporters of that paradigm, you'll easily be able to go and read those who disagree with them. Because in research, we do not only read what we agree with, we definitely and most importantly read that which we disagree with, because it is in that which we disagree with that we will be able to find gaps in our own studies. I mean, if there is two of you who says the same thing, then definitely the other one is not important. It's not necessary. If two people agree, then one is not important or necessary, because one can go and represent all of us. But if two people disagree, then two people are important. They can go and represent us. So the section of your research problem, some call it problem statement. Some say research questions, research hypothesis. What is important here is that what is your question? What is that you want to answer? Okay. If your supervisor says no, write me a research problem statement, then write your problem in your statement format. And when you write it in a statement format, please, as well, don't write a problem statement of 3 to 4 pages. Keep it to a page. And if you can keep it to 2-3 paragraphs, that's good. Because it's about the problem. It's about the statement that explains and discusses and engages with the problem. And usually the supervisors who would want you to have a problem statement, they'll now say, after you've written all that, what is your question? Right? So there'll be a problem statement and a research question. With me, I prefer just to have your research question, because you told me already you already introduced, you told me your background, you told me the rationale of your study, and now tell me your problem. Give me your question. That's how I do it. But again, listen to your supervisor. So what is your problem? That's all it's about here. So it does not matter which word, which phrases they use. What's your problem? You must now think of that particular person in your life who usually asks you this question. What's your problem, Pila Pila? Eh? What's your problem? Because you are not clear when the person asks you this. So what is your problem? What is it that you want to find out, investigate, explore, or research? What's your problem? This is what should come out in your research proposal, in this section of your research. What is your problem? And how do you write that problem? Remember, we spoke to your purpose statement. So your research question flows from your purpose statement. And if you've written that purpose statement with that formula we suggested earlier on, it will be easy for you to have the research problem. Because your research problem should have a central phenomenon of study, your participants, and your research context, keeping in mind your research methodology. So remember my research, my purpose statement. The purpose of my study was to do what? Explore high school principles, blah, blah, blah. Now here's my problem. What are high school principles, school management practices, or experiences rather, in rural settings? You can say it. I just took it exactly as it is from my purpose statement, and now I'm giving it in a problem format. So how do you compose your research questions? Please make sure that you ask questions of high order level. How, why, what. You do not do research in low order questions, but do or is. So if you have research questions there that starts with is or do, it's not a research question. It's a low order question. Is turning right, or is turning right wrong? Why must we research such a question? Do you like McDonald's? Do you like ice cream? Yes. You see, there's an answer already. No, I don't. But if I ask, why do you like McDonald's? I'm asking for engagement from this person. How do you like your ice cream? It's an engagement. So please look at your questions. If there is an is or do, sometimes it's are, you know, that's not the research question. Like I said, they already have an answer, yes and no questions, the low orders, and the sub questions as well. Be careful, they must not be low order level questions. So here is a formula as well of how to write your qualitative research question. You will find them in the slides. I'm looking at a time. I have now 62 minutes to go. What is important here, again, is a repetition of the formula. Central phenomenon of study, the participants, and the site. Central phenomenon of study, the participants, and the sites. You'll see these slides repeat themselves over and over because this is very important. I want it to be drilled in your beautiful minds. What is your central phenomenon of study? Who are the participants, and where is this going to be done? Right? So they tell you that qualitative research, we use how and what, and then we don't use why because it has a quantitative element because it implies effect and or comparativeness. So therefore, stay away from qualitative researches that asks the question why, because we need to measure. And here are a few examples. Always remember central phenomenon of study, the participants, the site. For your quantitative study as well, the formula, you can use both all, how, what, and why. Again, is and do are not questions, right? And if your study is about connections among multiple variables, you will use joining or keywords like verbs like relate, compare. You know, if it's about relationships, you'll use how does one variable relate to the other for who participates. It's about relationship, you use the word relate. It's about comparison, you use the word compare. So now you can see that if you're going to use the word compare, and then you're saying it's a qualitative study, you are in trouble because of now you'll have to compare. And comparing has elements and has structures. But quantitative, we can definitely compare variables. So what is my question? Here I'm joining my purpose, my research question. And I've also included the sample. So remember, what is my purpose? The purpose of this qualitative study is to explore the experiences of high school principals in terms of school management in rural settings. What is my question? What are the experiences of high school principals in terms of school management in rural settings? You can see with red, it talks to the who. You can see the who in my post statement, and you can see my who in my question. You can see my what in my purpose statement, and you can see my what in my question, and you can see my how, where it's only in my qualitative study. How am I going to do this? It's a qualitative study. You can see my where in my purpose statement, and you can see my where in my question as well. So if you write this clean, believe me, you have locked your examiners as well to focus on what you want them to examine you on as well. Because of this, no one is going to ask you about primary school principals. There's no one's going to ask you about urban or con-urban settings. That's not your interest. There's no one who's going to ask you about quantitative. aspects, because you told them it's qualitative, and your question is very clear. It's about the exploration of the experiences. Now I'm going to make this example. The purpose of my study, I want us to come up with a question. The purpose of my study is to determine the attitudes of all high school science teachers in Zimbabwe towards the teaching of evolution in biology curriculum. I'm not going to wait for 3 minutes. I don't have time. I'm now left with 57 minutes. Or is it 1 hour? Yeah. So you can type in on the side your research, my question. And if your question is like this, what are the attitudes of high school science teachers in Zimbabwe towards the teaching of evolution in biology curriculum? Is your question? You are wrong, okay? Because you need to read closely. There are elements that are missing there. And that element is a matter of the how. And this is how at times we have to struggle with our students, because of they don't read thoroughly what they are writing. They type it once and then they think it's correct. It's not correct. You need to read, to type, read, retype, and read again. You can see there, my purpose statement speaks to all high school science teachers in Zimbabwe. But my question, without a question mark, I apologize. My question speaks to high school science teachers in Zimbabwe. Now, there's a serious methodological implications there. All high school, it implies quantitative study. But high school science teachers, it can be 2 teachers, 3 teachers in 1 school, in 3 schools. So that can be a qualitative study. So the word all there is a very important word. So this is the reason why I try to use your purpose statement. Always go back to the purpose statement. Now somebody's phoning me. Then Koskas is phoning me. So the methodology, because of the word all, is quantitative, and I would have used survey as well. So let me give you time to do this while I see the thinking. So what is your question here? I'll give you time while I answer Koskas. I don't know. What coping strategies are employed by families living with HIV and AIDS? And what is the impact of HIV/AIDS on school attendance and performance of children from such families? There's also a problem with this question and with this purpose statement. Well, there's nothing wrong with the methodology. It's a qualitative study, and then it will indeed be a case study. But there is a lot to do from this. So please, when you remember the level that you are writing at, certain questions can be done by PhD students, and certain questions cannot be done by master's students. You must remember all the constructs or all the variables that are said or mentioned in your purpose statement, they must be covered and answered in your study. So be very careful. We usually talk about the feasibility of the study. So be very careful as well. Speak to your supervisor on that as well. Let it be in a manner that you will be able to complete it. Should you have a construct, a variable on your purpose statement or in your question, and you don't answer that question, it's a fail. So your research design, it's a plan or it's a blueprint on how you intend to conduct your research. It's a framework. Some say it's steps. It's fine. It's procedures, your research design of collecting or analyzing your data. Those of you who have or who are building houses, you meet with your architect or your draftsman and you sit and you draw a plan of where and how the house should look like. Where should it be situated on your land site? Where should it be situated on your land? Because there are some areas in your land that might be mushy or there might be sinkholes. So they will choose with you where it should be because they'll have made geological inspections for where your house is going to be. So site is important. Where are you going to do this research? Where are you going to build this house? Now comes this house plan into where do you want it to be. And they will tell you the kitchen can be there, the bedroom can be there, and all of that is your plan of your house. So this is a plan of an educational psychology clinic that I hope to build at some point for UNISA, but anyway, it's my dream. And when we were traveling with Professor Mbata and Ntatemachila, when we were doing the regional workshops, I took this picture at one of the hotels. And if you look into this picture, it gives you a floor plan of this Protea hotel that we stayed in one of the regions. I cannot see if we're Imperial Hotel somewhere, but now you can see my room it's a dot, it's a red dot there, and they tell me that Ramudungwani, this is your room, and they're showing me with arrows there in terms of where I must escape in terms of fire. You see? And they say, if I'm in my room, I'm very lucky, Professor Ngulube, because my room was close to the door on my left. There's the arrow, so that's my escape. So that's what they were telling me, these colleagues of mine who designed this hotel. So should I decide not to listen and follow the floor plan of the hotel and there is fire, and I decide to go to the right, meaning against the arrows, I might choke, I might suffocate, I might burn, so I will die. So now it's very important for me to read this floor plan of the hotel, right? And this is a floor plan, the map rather, of UNISA. So those of us who are now nostalgic, it's long that we've been on campus, please don't cry, Professor Mbata, when you see the map of UNISA, and I take you to good memories of our workstations. They tell you that if you want to go to the blue building, here is the map for you to follow to go to the blue building, Mr. Machil. And they even give you the numbers of the buildings and how to go there. And they're also showing you where you are. They say you are here. So all this is all about the design, the plan. It's about the blueprint of your research, of how you're going to conduct your research. Should you not follow this blueprint of yours, it's a fail. It's a fail. I hope this plays, Mr. Machin. Oh, before I do that, I tried as much as possible to cut it at the end. It has a slight foul language. Mr. Machila, you will forgive me. Well, it's not so, but it is. Some people might be affected by, be sensitive to the word. But anyway, we will try to stop it. Now, this is your research. Mr. Machila, you can hear it, ne?
We try it again. No, it's not audible from this side.
Let me do this.
Yeah, it's okay. Take your time, Prof.
Yeah, let me do this again. And share, include. No, Mr. Machida, I'm becoming an expert in this now. I know what I did wrong.
Congratulations.
Hello? Hey, what's up? I need your help. Can you come
That's
here?
fine.
I can't. I'm buying clothes. All right, well, hurry up and come over here.
Okay. Mr. Machida, you said something?
Now I was saying it's fine now. We can hear it.
You are, yes, it is audible.
All right.
Hello? Hey, what's up? I need your help. Can you come here? I can't. I'm buying clothes. All right, well, hurry up and come over here. I can't find them. What do you mean you can't find them? I can't find them. There's only soup. What do you mean there's only soup? It means there's only soup. Well, then get out of the soup aisle! All right, you don't have to shout at me! There's more soup! What do you mean there's more soup? There's just more soup! Going to the next aisle! There's still soup! Where are you right now? I'm at soup! What do you mean you're at soup? I mean I'm at soup! What store are you in? I'm at the soup store! Why are you buying clothes at the soup store? Fuck you!
Okay. So, colleagues, what's happening here? The gentleman
Hello? Hey, what's up? I need your help. Can you come here? I can't. I'm buying clothes.
So our beautiful cucumber is buying clothes, but is buying clothes at a grocery shop. It's looking for help from the supervisor and says, I need clothes. I'm buying clothes. I can't find clothes. Supervisor directs the student beautifully and says, get out of the aisle where it's only soup. You know, right now it's very confusing because you go to Pick n Pay. Pick n Pay does not only sell clothes anymore, hey? And then the supervisor thinks, no, this person is at the Pick n Pay-ish like store where there's clothes and groceries. No, get out of that aisle of the soup aisle, you know, and go to the aisle where there are clothes. That's a fair supervisor support. And goes to the next aisle. There's still more soup. Goes to the next aisle. And remember, at all this time, the supervisor is giving the correct support. Eh? Get out of that aisle. Go to the next one because you need clothes. But the person is at the soup shop. At ShopRite. ShopRite doesn't have clothes. Doesn't sell clothes. At ShopRite. But it's looking for clothes. And at the end of the day, where there's a foul language, the supervisor shouts because of he's frustrated with this person who is in the wrong shop for wrong items, and then it ends up not in a very collegial relationship. So it's all about being in the correct place for the correct reasons. Choosing the correct research methodology for the correct research. You know the example I usually use. You go to a restaurant. When you go to the restaurant, you order, they give you a menu. And then when you get to the menu, when they give you the menu folds in three ways. There's a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they choose you, they tell you, here is your site. Choose the methodology. Then you choose breakfast, their approach. That's your approach. You choose your breakfast and you order food from your breakfast and you order soup. Yeah, clearly I like soup, Mr. Magic. You order soup. I even find comics that talk to soup. You order soup. And when you've ordered soup, they bring you soup. You ask for a knife and a fork to eat your soup. Is that the correct technique? This is what you should avoid when you write your methodology. We all know that for you to be able to eat your soup, you need a soup spoon or a tablespoon at least. Not a teaspoon, not a fork, not a knife. It does not matter even if there are crumbs of bread in there. You don't eat it with a knife and a fork. So your methodology must be clean. If it's qualitative, make sure that it's qualitative approach with proper method and with proper techniques. You can't say it's a quantitative study, it's a survey, and I'm going to use interviews. Honestly, there's a mismatch. So, however, before you even do that, there are considerations you must take to note when you select your approach. Your epistemological orientation, where are you coming from? Because of there are certain awareness, meaning who we are, our beliefs, our view of life that might affect our approaches to solving certain problems as well. And the epistemology of the question as well, as in where is the truth of that question as well. There's no way I'm going to be talking about the epistemology of HIV and AIDS and I'm saying I'm going to interview HIV and AIDS. I can't interview HIV. I cannot do focus group with HIV. So that epistemology of that problem as well, you should consider. Who are your audience? Who's going to read this research of mine? Right? And what are personal skills do I need or trainings do I need for me to be able to undertake this approach? Please make sure that your problem always matches your approach. And of course, we know you will also, this is a very serious section. There's going to be training on this as well, on individual approaches or methodologies, as others call it. You are going to have one that speaks to the research design in terms of qualitative, the one that speaks to quantitative, the one that speaks to mixed method. So this is just for me to indicate the components, where does it fit in? But all this your selection will fit in here. What is quantitative, and you'll speak to that. And what is qualitative, you'll speak to that as well. And here you will find the verbs that will also assist you in crafting your purpose statement as well. You know, the factors, the determinants. We know that when you use the word factor or determinants, you are now in the quantitative area. So now when you craft that question, when you craft that purpose statement, move away, if you are qualitative, from using the word determinant. Because of determinants, it means there must be you are able to select, and then be able to either compare or count or stuff like that, right? So we create in qualitative. We're talking about causes, the influences, the effect of in quantitative as well. Both can go for your mixed method because mixed method will encompass both verbs and both languages as well. For your mixed method is the same, just that it has in this section the mixed method, the types of designs of the mixed methods. Explanatory, it will be explained as well to you. Exploratory, what do we mean by that? So what we find students who would say my study is a mixed method because has both quantitative and qualitative element. No, that's not a mixed method, right? You are there. Rather, let me say that's not a mixed method research. That's a mixed method. You are using two methods, quanti and quali, but it's not a mixed method research because a mixed method research has its own designs. Colleagues, our Professor Ngulube will take you through this. He will explain this far diligently and eloquently in terms of what is the difference. If you're having, well, what I call the approaches, if you have quanti and quali in your study and you don't have the proper design of that research, it's not a mixed method research. So don't say I'm using mixed method research, because for you to be able to use mixed method research, you must be using either the explanatory, exploratory, convergence methods. And also because mixed method research is also developing a new field, they're still writing more in this area, but there is an expert in this area who would take us through it. What I wanted you to know in this section of the methodology, of the method or the approaches, or is this. This section are going to clearly indicate what is your design. It's a qualitative design with this. It's a qualitative approach with this design that falls in this particular area. And I will show you the slide at the end that will help you to see which design goes with which approach and the number of samples, preferred number of sample or participants for that, right? So again, quantitative, qualitative, mixed method research, not the mixed methods, mixed method research. It's your design, case study, survey, ethnography. Just feed it in correctly. Remember the matter of the soup. Where is the soup, and how do you eat your soup? Your techniques as well, observation, interviews, focus group, questionnaires, telephone questionnaires. In the olden times, we used to use mail questionnaires and all that, emails and all that. All of those are your techniques on how you're going to use, but those techniques must be clear and must be linked and must meet and match your approach. Okay. Please don't tell Professor Ngulube that I'm using his slide. He has improved it. I don't know if he shared the improved one with me, but this is, you will find this in Ngulube 2015, where he took time and made this trends in research methodological procedures. And what I liked about this, that it tells you and it helps you to keep to your lane. You know, as a parent, you usually will hear parents talking and complaining that their child is out of line. You know, don't go out of line. Stick to your line. Stick to your lane. If you are using realism as your realism, positivism, quantitative, there's your lane. Professor Ngulube has made it easy for you to say what are the designs that you need to take. If you are using the paradigm of pluralism, of pragmatism, which is in the middle, here are your methodologies and your approaches for you to take. If it's constructivism and interpretivism, this is what you need to take. So take this slide, print it, put it in your study, put it in your hall, so that it keeps you in your lane. Uskatsa lane. Oh, in Afrikaans, bly in your lane. Stay in your lane. Uskatsa lane. Remain in your line. And like I said to you earlier on, in terms of different semantics and syntax as well. You see, Professor Ngulube calls them methodology. I call them approaches, quantitative, qualitative, mixed method research. I call them approaches. He calls them methodology. That's okay. Just remember your supervisor. You see, I call these ones what he calls approaches and designs. I call them methods and designs. But he calls them approaches. Can you see that? What I call techniques, he calls them techniques and methods. And it makes sense as well, by the way, why he says his methods. What method are you going to use to collect this data? And just I'm going to use an interview. And I'm saying, what technique are you going to use? So it's just a matter of which ones would you prefer. But I'm happy that he included my thinking in that one, and he did not disagree totally with me, because he knows, he read books that different people use different. So keep this in mind as well. Don't allow yourself to be confused. And you can see that he tells you where triangulation is happening. Triangulation is happening during the techniques and your methods section. We're using interviews, focus groups, and a questionnaire. That's where triangulation happens, because we find students who says that triangulations happens at the methodology section, what he calls methodology, what I call approaches, quanti, because you are using quanti and qual, you are saying you are triangulating. No, triangulations happens down there on your techniques. And triangulation does not necessarily mean 3, it can be 2. It's all about using a different technique or a different method to verify, to confirm, authenticate the data that was collected. Because in research, you cannot only get only one source and say this is it. You know, you need to use different methods to say that indeed the number is 4 and it is 4 in all angles. We are thankful to this one. So, so like I said, part of those generations of data, your techniques, observations, non-participation, conversations, all of these, they help you in terms of your that triangulating and collecting more and more and more data. In terms of data analysis, we have different analysis strategies and tools. They can be computer softwares like Atlas TI, SPSS, and interactive qualitative analysis, coding, color coding, and developing themes. At the end of the day, it's all about this structure of your design. You have your question, you have your participants, and you must tell us why these participants, because of if you decided to choose people with green eyes and not the ones with blue eyes, you must tell us why. Why green and not blue, right? It all, and when you are very clear with this, it also helps you with your write-up of your delimitation of your study, because you'll tell us that I'm interested in high school principles, like the example of my purpose statement and my question, and not primary school teachers or principals, because usually at the beginning of the year in South Africa, the Minister of Education announces the results, the matric results, and then it seems as if the rural schools are performing bad, and she usually talks to the management, or there's a poor management in those schools. She has never said this, I'm just making an example. Why there? So that's why I'm looking at high schools, because my background, remember my background and my context, it's the minister's results announcing and the matric pass rate, so the status quo. That's where my problem is coming from. That's what research is about. That's why I included this one and I excluded those ones. I'm going to have so many interviews with them. Why so many interviews? So many participants? Why so many participants, and all that? So at the end of the day, your analysis will look like that. So as an example, color coding, I'm going to use these colors because I will know yellow is for that, red is for that. So you get your transcripts, you give a certain expression, a certain color, or a certain information on a certain element, a certain color. Then you will know when you are starting to analyze your data and you synthesize this. Oh, this color they're talking about qualifications, and then it's easy for you to pick it. This color they're talking about age, so you will see it in your doing it. Like we said as well, theme development for qualitative analysis in terms of computer software, Atlas TI, in vivo, and then SPSS for quantitative, and as well as Excel. Some people can use Excel as well. There's more programs for, especially for quantitative, that you can use for you to get to the ANOVAs and all that, to analyze your data. But remember that as well as your analysis or your analytic tool that you choose, it must speak again to your method or the approach and the techniques. So this is what, as the slide that I said we will have at the end of the day. It shows you a method. It shows you what it focuses on. So if you are saying you are going to use ethnography, we know that's about the context and culture. There is no sample size, and then these are your data collection techniques or methods. If it's about phenomenology, it's about that particular people's experiences with that particular phenomenology, and the size of the sample, and then as well as the method of or the technique of collecting data as well. So these are just few that I managed to get from this reference. So there's more. So information is it's at your fingertips, colleagues. So at the end of the day, this is how this section links with everything. At the beginning, you had your title, then comes your research question, your approach, your methods, data collection techniques. Remember, preferably, you must use more than one technique or method to collect your data, and then you have your data, you analyze it, and then you discuss you have your findings, and now you discuss them, you interpret them, you conclude, and you give us your recommendation. That's how, as well as the entire research proposal looks like. Then after, you come to your research aims and objectives. Research aims and objectives. And we tend to confuse, as people, our research aims and objectives. Sometimes we use them interchangeably. So the aim, it indicates your goal. And objectives are not synonyms. Aim is broad statement of the desired outcome. It's about your intention, your general intention. And your aim should reflect the aspirations and expectations of your research topic. Whereas an objective is a milestone of getting to your aim. It's a step. Some call it sub-aims, some call it sub-goals. It's about how you are going to reach your ultimate aim. Let's play. If my aim is to get married in 2023 for those who are not married, I need you to write on your chat box there, what must you do for you to ultimately to get married in 2023? Remember, the aim is an ultimate goal, intent. So what must you do to get married in 2023 if you are not married? Or even if you are married, and you want to get your second wife or your third wife, let me not close you out and close you if your system axiology agrees to you to get more than one wife. So what must you do to get married in 2023? Okay, I don't know. One would say meet the correct person. Okay, meet your soulmate. But you see, for you to meet a soulmate, for you to meet the correct person, there are objectives that you needed to do before you meet your soulmate. So what are those? What is that you need to do? Because you cannot meet your soulmate when you are at home. Oh, okay. One will say there is, where is this thing? The dating sites, Tinker or Tinker. Lonely Hearts website. I don't know. Register for whatever. Then you can meet your soulmate when you're at home through the computer. Online dating. Yes, that's what they call it. Online dating. All right. But for you to do the online dating, you need to get to do certain objectives first. And one of them is you cannot be online if you don't have the gadget, either a smartphone or a computer. And for you to get a smartphone or computer, there's certain objectives that you need to do first. And one of them is to have money. And for you to have money, there are certain objectives that you need to do first, and it's to get a job. And for you to get a job, there are certain objectives that you need to do first, is to go to school. So those are the steps, because at the end of the day, if you have a job, if you go to school, you go to university, you get a job, you buy a laptop, a cell phone, you buy data, then you can connect to the internet and I'm alone, I need a wife, and then have time, because that's another objective. You have to sit down and have time to go through the profiles of those aspiring colleagues who, aspiring suitors and potential wife or husbands, right? So all of those are the steps. Those are your objectives. Because at the end of the day, you agree with this person, or we are meant for one another, and you went through certain dates and you'll get married if the person agrees or if you agree in 2023. So that's what it is. The aim was for you to get married in 2023. So you needed to do certain things to get to getting married in 2023. That's what the research is about. That's what the objectives are about. And the aim. Remember, oh, I don't know why I have 2018 there as well. It's long gone. You should have obtained your master's by then. So for you, at UNISA, you also need to get through certain few steps to register with us. So you need to read. I've mentioned the matter of reading of topic of interest. After you have read, you need to refine your topic. But I indicated that there are certain steps, the sub steps that you need to take. For you to be able to read first, you need to get the material. Like I said this morning, I sent the material. But that material that I sent to the master's group, M&D group, it might be irrelevant to others. So some people don't want to meet soulmates online. They want to meet them at church, some at the wedding, some at funerals. So for you to get to that person, you must go to the funeral. Well, COVID-19 tells you social distancing. Marriage is social distance. So please do social distance. Right. So you need to be at the correct place. So you need to get the correct material. But once you get that material, you need to have time to read it. You need to either photocopy it or purchase it. Make time to read it. After you have read, you need to register with UNISA. But for you to register with UNISA, there are certain things that you need to do first. You need to save money because money does not grow from trees. And we already indicated what to do if you need to save money. And after you have saved that money, you need to go to the internet cafe if you don't have a cell phone with internet, if you don't have data. So those are the steps, all right? So aims can be a phase in research. Therefore, an objective is how an aim is attained. Objectives also shows the who is going to work towards the fulfilling the aim. I've indicated to you already. The who is the material, the who is the time that you need for you to be able to read the material, the costs of getting there. The tools that you're going to need. If you are in the pure science field, there are certain computers that with a certain hard cover for something for you to be able to use it. They don't just use any other computer. The researcher, geologists, for instance, because it can fall, it can break. So simply put, an objective is important to indicate the fulfillment of the aim by focusing on who, how, where, when, and why. They should be concise and brief. They should be interrelated because they should lead to an ultimate aim. Be realistic. Indicators of how you can approach the literature, theoretical issues, your projects. Aims and objectives should not be too vague, too ambitious, too broad in scope. They should not repeat each other in different terms. There should not be a shopping list of things related to the topic. And more so, we are interested more here with the title. Remember, like I said earlier on, what is on your purpose statement? What is on your title must be answered. What is on your title? Experiences of high school principals in rural school management in rural settings. That's the title. The focus was to explore the experiences of. The question is, what are the experiences of? The objectives must answer those questions. Because remember, there was the aim. The aim was to bring to the fore the contextual experiences or contextual whatever that they are exposed to or that they are undergoing. Now, my objectives must answer that. So therefore, I cannot have a shopping list. And therefore, my objectives must not contradict the method. So they should not imply the methodological goals or standards or even measurement or proof or generalizability of findings that the method cannot sustain. Remember the issue of the soup shop? And this is the section, actually, that methodology. This is a section where the main of your research focus is on. Colleagues, your methodology is wrong. Your study is a fail. And everything ties to this methodology. You cannot have a list of objectives and you don't answer. You do not choose not to answer. Once it's written, it's written. In Latin, they say, in Greek, is it Latin or Greek? I cannot, you'll forgive me, Mr. Machil. Ho gagrava, gagrava. I think it's Latin. Ho gagrava, gagrava. What is written is written. Well, in honestly, it doesn't say what is written is written. It says what I have written. I have written. This is somebody, those of you who follow a certain philosopher, you would know who said those words. So, remember the aim, the purpose of the statement, of that statement of ours? The purpose of this qualitative study is to explore the experiences of high school principals in terms of school management in rural settings, with the aim of bringing to the fore the contextual factors affecting rural principal school management practices. Remember my question, or I should have put the question there so that you can see that it flows. The question is simply, you can remember, what are the high school, what are the experiences of high school principals in school management practices? Now, these are the objectives. What are the highest qualifications of the principals? What management training do they have? What is the staff complement of the school? What are the qualifications of the teachers? What are home circumstances that the learners come from? etc, etc. You can see I can have a list of things, but there's a certain list on my objectives that I can take out. But this is just for an example. But you see, my main matter here is to understand their management style. And if I know their qualifications, I can have an understanding on how and why they do certain things and why they do not know about certain things, because of their qualifications will tell me that. And we all know that in South Africa, we come from a very dark age of apartheid, where we do have principals who became teachers with a junior, well, not even junior, yeah, well, with junior degree. They are now phasing out in terms of retirement and all that, right? Because of the system did not allow them to study any further. So they never done anything in management. All they know was they were teachers with J something, and they upgraded to advanced education. They taught at school. They became principals. That's it. and therefore they're not marketable. They cannot come to an urban area because their competition is high. And people from the urban area who have gone to do masters and PhDs in school management and blah blah blah, they don't go to rural schools as well because of whatever reasons that they might choose not to go to rural schools. So this is the person who is there. So what is this person's qualifications, highest qualification? Did this person, did he attend any management training? Because at the end of the day, remember, I want to bring to the fore their contextual factors, right? How many staff does this person have? It's a school of 200 learners with staff of 4 teachers. So there's multi-grade teaching in this school, contextual factor. I will get that from that question. What are the qualifications of these teachers? Then I will get that maybe this is the reason why a minister, when I write my recommendations, that the qualifications of the teachers there, it's low. Maybe that's the reason why we are not getting good results in matric, right? How home circumstances of these children come from? They don't eat, and this principal must manage a school of multi-grades with learners who come to school empty stomached. So all of this, they give me a picture of what's happening in these rural setting schools and the factors and contextual issues surrounding the management of a school. Perhaps I could have asked the question, how many CODs does this principal have? Because CODs are there to assist the principal in managing and running the school. What is the makeup of the school management team? Who forms the management team? Is the SGB? Who forms the SGB? All of these are objectives that I could have put down and then to answer my ultimate aim. And I hope you can see that I've indicated the title, I've indicated the purpose statement, and I've indicated the aim. And this aim, it is the very same aim that we talked to when we're speaking to the purpose of this study is to do blah, 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 with the aim of. I did not write a new aim. I cut and paste the aim. Because of this is another area that we're struggling with students. They tend to think when they're writing objectives and aims and objectives, they must think of new aims and objectives. You already have them. You've already written them. All you do now in this section, you highlight them. They are there already. Then comes the section of the significance of your study. I don't know why I said 9 there. Forget the 9. In this section, we are interested in the money, the capital. By money, I mean the capital, the value that your study is adding. Remember those recommendations. What additions? So you could be talking to, like we said, in terms of the COVID and triage in the hospital. You've highlighted the importance of looking at the symptoms that the person is brought in with COVID, and because of that, you have changed the triage ticking, because triage is a ticking list. You change the triage ticking list to remove COVID-19 from blue to red. That's a contribution, as small as it is. It's a huge contribution because it will save lives. You added value in terms of the articulation of a certain policy. That it has always been there, but it was articulated in a certain way, but it was not benefiting the intended beneficiaries. It can be a matter of innovation. that you came up with, of coming up with new ways of farming water from fog, you know, or farming, I don't know, fish during a certain period. Because of all this time that was not done, or it was done, but it was bringing the fish to extinction. But now you came up with new ways of doing that, new ways of cleaning water naturally through the moss and what in a particular rural area that has a lot of swamp, but the water there was not passing, and it was making sludge and algae, and you came up with some way of making it go through, and when it goes through, because it's fresh water, it's clean, and that water can be used for something different, and it can be a lot of things. But that's the value of your research, a small thing in terms of suggesting to the Department of Public Works on where to place windows. Because remember, architect, when they build, they will build for sun and accumulation of maximum use of daylight, right? Because of energy, they will call it energy, maximum use of energy. But maximum use of energy for a building is not necessarily maximum benefit of learning. For a child with ADHD, for instance, a child with eye sensitization, sensory stimulation, who's sensitized to that, it might not be, even auditory, because of sound can pass through easily. So learners in your classroom are struggling. They have the maximum light, the maximum use of energy, but they're not benefiting in terms of focus, concentration, and learning in your classroom because of the way it is designed. So you see, a small thing like that can indeed lead to contribution to knowledge. Like I said, I'm more a proponent of all studies can contribute to knowledge. Remember, why do you propose? When you're thinking of the significance of your study, keep this in mind. Why do you propose to do this research? Who will benefit from findings of your study? The section of trustworthiness and validity. Right now, when you read literature in this section, you find that actually now both quantity and quality, they use validity and trustworthiness interchangeably, especially the qualitative part where they use the validity, credibility interchangeably. So it's not only left to a certain approach or a certain method or methodology, as Ngulube calls them. So it's very important for you to communicate with your supervisor, because in my training, I will use the word, I will only use trustworthiness because I'm more of a qualitative person. And validity is more of a quantitative. That's how I was trained. But right now, lately, people cross-reference. So that is fine. Just communicate with your supervisor. Your criterion for evaluating your study. The credibility and the trustworthiness of conclusions drawn from data. Is it internal? Is it external in terms of how far it can be generalized? The documents that you used, and you have to you have to document all the procedures that you used to show us that this can be. And remember, in quantitative, they'll talk about replicability. Can it be replicated? And qualitative people, we used to pride ourselves that it's qualitative because it cannot be replicated. It all happens in the natural setting. You know, all those things that we write there. But certain procedures should be validated so that we can see what you did indeed you did do, and then so therefore it's trustworthy and it is valid because of you did what you said you were going to do as well. We talked to the matter of triangulation and where triangulation usually happens. Limitations and assumptions. First and foremost, if you can think of it, it's not a limitation. All right, it's an opportunity for you to see the weakness of your study, and then for you to come up with means and ways of how to attend to it. A limitation of your study is that you wanted to go and collect data, and then President Ramaphosa said level 5, no going anywhere. And when now your data you wanted to do with 28 people, collect data from 28 people, and you collected only from 22. So there is 6 missing. And then you tell us, I wanted to collect from 28, but I collected from 26 because of this COVID-19. So it's a limitation. You did not do what you were set out to do, but because of something that was outside your control. So you can't say, I'm going to collect from 28, and you come and collect from 22, and you say I couldn't because it rained. You surely could have thought that it might rain, and therefore you were supposed to buy umbrellas, right? You must when you're collecting data, you must behave like a woman or a man who really wants to get married. You know, come rain, come shine, the wedding is happening, and they will tell you. You would see when you see the invitation. They will tell you if the weather permits, it's on the beach, it's outside. If weather doesn't permit, it's in the hall. Whether you like it or not, there will be a wedding. Or you will get married. You see, they thought. So when you collect data, you must think of that as well. What are the possible limitations? And once you think of them, it's not a limitation anymore. It's an opportunity for you to strengthen your study. So another section is of assumptions, your preconceived ideas of the conclusions that you already come to when you're writing up your study. And you can put them out there as well and write them there that, look, I come from this area of thinking, and these are my assumptions, and therefore these are my bias, and this is what I'm going to do to try to make sure that I always check that I'm not being conceived with ideas and judgmental and bias and right. So you must point out all of that and measures of how you're going to deal with them. However, delimitations, they are conscious demarcation of what you're going to do, like we said earlier on. Your delimitation can simply be, no, I'm only focusing on high schools, not on primaries. That's a delimitation. Then you will write the section of your conclusion, and then your ethical considerations, and of course your references as well. Remember, the purpose of this presentation is to give you a guide on research proposal writing with the aim of assisting you as a participant to gain proficiency in research proposal writing. However, this presentation, this is a disclaimer of me and disclaimer of School of Graduate. This presentation and any other presentation that's going to happen will not make you proficient research proposal writers. It is your activities after you have listened to my presentation that result in your proficiency in research proposal writing. So after this, what are you going to do? I told you, read, read, read. So if you don't read, if you don't listen to your supervisor, if you go to the soup store, to ShopRite, to Pick and Pay for gas material issues, we're in trouble because we're going to get into that level of frustration between a supervisor and yourselves. At that, let me thank you.